So, yeah, the microphones obviously are new. These are hardwired and we do have wireless as well for when we have larger meetings, but you just hit the button in front of it. To green means it's hot, obviously, and then hit it again and it'll go off. But we also can control the microphones down here. So if you forget, we may just go ahead and hit you so we don't have to yell down. You forgot your
We
microphone.
will be deleted.
They also have a button that just takes your seat and flips you back.
There's
out
a
of
trap
there.
door under
Yeah.
you, so if we don't like what you're saying, we'll open.
Permanently
I
muted.
like this. I like this.
We're gonna vote one person off the council. That's what we'll do. You'll have a
Unfortunately,
survivor.
I-
Survivor. One of you will go,
I have a feeling who makes it the whole most often.
probably me.
I don't think so.
Okay, here we go. Lock and load, ready?
Yep, we're live.
Fire. Welcome, City of Petoskey City Council meeting for April 21st, 2025. I ask that you rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Beck, would you please call roll?
Demore,
Present.
Shields,
Here.
Actrog,
Here,
Walker,
here,
Here.
Murphy.
Present, we have a quorum. Next is the consent agenda. It's the adoption of a proposed resolution that would confirm approval of the following: the March 17th, 2025 regular session and closed session city council meeting minutes. Are you passing those out?
Yep, right here.
As well as acknowledge the receipt of certain transmit actions that have occurred since March 17th, 2025, as well as the March 25th revenue and expenditure report, as well as the 2025 quarterly investment report, as well as the receipt of a 2024-25 Planning Commission annual report pursuant to Act 33 of Michigan Public Act of 2008, Act 11, and that's section 125.3819. So would anybody wish to make a motion for that or have questions?
So moved.
I'll support.
I have a motion from Ms. Demore and a second from Mr. Nautrop. Any other discussion?
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you, Mayor.
Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have a couple of questions, so giving folks a little bit of time. Starting with, page 7. There's a check register number under March 25th. Compass Minerals of America to the tune of $6,972. Could it be salts for the roads or minerals for water treatment? Compass right here. 204-010-111. Oh, one out that one. One.
So that's coming out of the general street fund, so that's materials inventory. I can check further, but I believe that's either sand or stone material.
Thank you, Shane. And then I did have another question.
Please.
Thank you, Mayor. Going to page 12 on the check register from 326. There's one for key government finance for $6,000, and it says it's an interest payment.
So that would be an interest payment for, let's see, 271. So it's a library payment for their debt service.
Okay. And then if I may, Mayor,
Yes, please.
on page 14, under 32725, it says Qmation Contracted Services for a total of about 10,600.
Yeah, so that is for our water and wastewater. That is, we have a software program that helps us to monitor what's happening in our distribution system. So it's called SCADA. So that software helps us monitor pump levels, pump pressures, tank levels in the distribution system from the treatment plant. We can start and stop pumps from the treatment facility using that software. So that's annual software expenses for that service.
Thank you. And then the largest one, if I may, Mayor.
Sure, please.
So, and I have an idea what this one would be about, excuse me, sorry. So going back to page 22 of the check register from 4/16/25, Peerless Midwest, Inc. And this is the distribution system, so I have a feeling that this might be from the power outage to the tune of $285,000.
Yeah, so these were two well rebuilds. We had two wells that were significantly impacted by a number of things, buildup of iron and such. So we had to pull the pumps out and rebuild the pumps and essentially scour the well casing from buildup of materials. So that was two wells being rebuilt by our contractor, Peerless Midwest.
Excellent. Thank you so much for your time.
Yep.
Anyone else? I go to Ms. Beck for roll.
Demore,
Aye.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Shields.
Yes.
Walker,
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes, motion passes 5-0. Next is public comment, and that's your opportunity if you're in public, either online or in the audience, to speak to council. Give us your full name, full address, and you'll have time to address council. Is there anyone wishes to speak? There being done, we'll go next to the city manager's update. I'll turn it over to City Manager Horn. Would you please pass in the closed session?
Thank you, Mayor. Wanted to kind of run through a few things, since this is our first meeting since the ice storm event. Really wanted to, again, give kudos publicly to our frontline linemen and crew that were out in the elements. Obviously, when we lost power on the 29th of March, we really didn't know the magnitude of the event at that time, but we saw the weather coming in and were bracing for this. In talking with Mike Robbins kind of after the event, he could not envision an event that would knock out both of our substations in one event. So it was obviously an unprecedented event. I will significantly give kudos to Mike and to previous councils, to this council, previous department heads that really have made the concerted effort to invest in our underground infrastructure. I will say that we weathered this as well as we possibly could, being that we're about 78% underground. Once we got power restored to our substations, we were really in fairly good shape at that point. Obviously, we were relying on others, whether that be Consumers Energy or another vendor, ITC Michigan, which powered our other substations. So once we received power from those two folks, we were, again, in pretty good shape. We had a number of private utility lines that run from the lines that are above ground or in and around the city that were impacted. So we had some outages that we still had to address even when power was restored to most of the city. So Sarah and I kind of kept track of the incoming calls that we were receiving on those. We had a lot of folks, whether it was Rob Eichler in the field, Jason, that we were responding to on an hourly basis as we were getting calls coming in to City Hall. So it was a very concerted, coordinated effort. I've said this to staff. I mean, you learn a lot in an event like this. I think from my standpoint, from my view, I think our staff performed very well. I think our community responded very positively. It was very gratifying and heartwarming to see the folks that took advantage of the warming center here at City Hall, the folks that just stopped by to drop off food, the folks that just wanted to get in, come in, get warm and charge their devices. So I think, making those transitions, from a, day-to-day operation facility of normal City Hall to we are just here to provide, a service to people that don't have service. So I think that was well received by our community. And I listed in our kind of our outage updates, kind of the running list of folks that contributed to the event over the course of the 5-day period. Just again, a number of folks. I won't read the list, but folks can go to our website and follow that through. But again, just a number of people following up, checking on their neighbors, with public safety, even going door to door, doing wellness checks. So, the worst case scenario that I could envision was, power being out, heat being out, and you have potentially some elderly folks that are really not geared to weather those type of elements. So we really tried to encourage people, whether it was our warming center or the casino or any other of the warming facilities, to take advantage of those opportunities and for neighbors to check on each other. So I think in a lot of ways that happened. Obviously very early on, our public works folks were out in the midst of this, moving trees out of the road. Even as trees were snapping, limbs were snapping and falling in the roadway, our folks were out there moving trees off so first responders could get to properties and linemen could get to the streets, if you will. So again, kudos to our staff that they were the ones that were on the front lines dealing with the elements and getting our services restored. We had, as I mentioned previously, 3 out-of-town partners that assisted us as well: Grand Haven Board of Water and Light, Traverse City Light and Power, and Zealing Board of Public Works came up and assisted us in this effort. So it's been a, I think we're through that first phase, but the restoration and cleanup will be a lengthy process. So we are going through a process now of kind of doing estimates on what we've spent and what we plan, what we think we're going to spend. We've been working with the emergency manager for Emmett County. We've been working with Michigan State Police and FEMA. FEMA will be in town next week to do a walk through the area and drive through the area to determine the magnitude of the event. We're still hoping for a federal declaration. We haven't seen that yet, but we have to reach a certain plateau. So each community is putting together an estimate on what they expect their recovery efforts to look like from a cost standpoint. So Jason is kind of our point person for this, been putting numbers together. So if you want to go to that first slide. And this is big dollars. A lot of money. I mean, I don't know if you can see that very well. I just copied his thing. Can you blow that up any at all? Or look in your thing, might be easier, but so we anticipate just in debris removal, almost $1.6 million to date. Even as we stand today, we have invoicing for about $600,000 in debris removal and grinding and chipping. We've had 5 crews in working doing routes around the city. And we started that process very early on, trying to get our community, cleaned up. So that process will likely continue through this week. And then depending on what the end of this week looks like, we'll go back to our normal, schedule. We anticipate that the first few months of our normal monthly, debris pickup will be fairly heavy still, but we have, our contractors need to move on to their normal routines, if you will. So we'll start ratcheting that down a little bit. But so you can see, we're over 2.2 million, and Jason actually, before I even came up here, said he got some more invoicing come in, so we're likely around the 2.5 million. So each community is going through this process. These are estimates, but these are what we're projecting. So each community is pushing this information again forward to the Emmett County Emergency Manager, who will submit this on behalf of our region, or Emmett County. And then they will determine, Michigan State Police, and will determine if we have met the thresholds for potentially a federal declaration. Understanding, as we were going through training with FEMA, this is a 75% reimbursement. This is not 100%. So we will have significant out-of-pocket costs, even at 25% of this number. So likely there'll be some budget amendments forthcoming, to deal with this event, but this is kind of, again, a first blush at what the numbers could look like, and we'll obviously keep track of this. There's a lot of reporting requirements, as you can imagine, through FEMA, a lot of different documentation that's required, whether it's pictures, invoices, and this is a reimbursement process, so we're paying upfront and then seeking reimbursement through the Michigan State Police, who are receiving the federal funds if that comes to fruition. So it's again, a long restoration process, a long recovery process, but it's a significant event. As you all drive around Emmett County, you can see that firsthand, how much of a impact this storm has had on our recovery efforts. So really right now we're into marking street trees that we think have unfortunately been damaged to the point that we don't expect. And this is not us doing this. We're having an arborist come in and assist us with making those determinations. This will likely carry us through the summer. It's typically summer's not the time we want to start planting trees. So it could be that we do some removals and start replanting in the fall when it's a little more conducive to get new growth going, if you will. So this will be something that we'll continue to work on through the summer, but we certainly want to continue to try to get our community in a position where as we get into June, when our visitors start arriving, that we're in pretty good shape overall, but we understand and know that this is going to be a long process. Few other things I wanted to hit on. Any comments on the storm before I move off of that?
I'd like to make one comment.
Your button.
Thank you very much, Shane, Sarah, all of the staff for all of the work you guys did. I know you stayed overnight here. Every time I came down here, there were people that were very happy to have a warm place to come. I was amazed. We could almost have called it the charging center rather
Yeah.
than the warming center, because many people came here for that. But Shane, thank you, and also to your wife, because you guys went above and beyond. It was obvious you love Petoskey, and it's obvious you love your job. So kudos and thank you for what you guys did, as well as Sarah and Michelle. Mr. Moore.
Yeah, I just have a couple questions. So point of clarification then, in order to access that 75% reimbursement from FEMA, that has to be preceded by that declaration at the federal level, or is that incorrect, Shane?
We have a declaration at the state level, so we would have access to state funds. They've allocated, I don't know if that was ultimately approved yet, but they were talking about the 75 million number. So we'll have access to state funds. The hope is we'll have access to federal funds. So that, what I was talking about was the federal side of it, but we do have access to state funds, now. We think that that's a fairly light number, so we're hoping that we can get additional resources sent this way, because that 75 is not gonna touch the magnitude of this event. So yeah, that would be for the state funds, yeah.
And then my second question, the only constituent concern I've received is about some trees in the city, on city property that, have branches that are sort of hanging and that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Am I understanding from what you said that, at least through the next week, teams are going to be on that and then continuing beyond that?
Yeah, if we've tried to address the trees in the right of way that were in danger of falling in the roadway first. I think we've gotten through that process. We know that there's still other trees out there that we need to address. So we're going through the process of marking those to determine, can they be saved, or is it beyond the realm of possibility that that tree can survive. So we're going through marking trees. So we'll be going through marking street trees to determine that here in the next few weeks.
And we're still on the lookout for,
Yes,
half
absolutely.
broken branches and all that
Yes,
sort of thing.
yes.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yep.
Mr. Natron.
I have just a couple of questions and a comment, but is all this estimate just incremental dollars beyond what you would normally spend in a budget in terms of payroll? Is this all incremental third-party overtime?
Yeah, this is directly related to the storm. So yeah, there's obviously wages in here. We paid the 3 utilities that came up to assist us. That was part of the deal. We knew what that expectation was when we brought them up here. This is not, they weren't volunteering. There's an hourly rate associated with their service. Same thing if we would go down and assist somebody in one of those communities as well, we would get reimbursed for that. So we have those numbers, but this would be directly related to the storm damage. Yeah.
Thank you. The second question was, is any relief or offering their services to all the individual property owners? I mean, it's an extensive, very expensive process for the
Mhm.
city, but also individual people.
Yeah.
Are they eligible for anything that you're aware
Well,
of?
we're going to talk about that in a few minutes down on the agenda, but so there's a number of groups that volunteer. They're not eligible to be reimbursed. These are public funds, so they would be reimbursed, through public entities. So a private property owner would not be able to be reimbursed through whether it's state or FEMA dollars,
Okay,
if that makes sense.
too bad. And then I echo what the mayor said. I'm impressed with your communication process. I was involved with a lot of stuff. And again, I'm in the Bay Harbor side of things, which is a lot of people too. And the amount of people that stepped up and did well checks, vendors, landscapers, all of the Bay Harbor Company people, they were all just all over this as well.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what happens in the community when something like this happens.
Mm.
The best of the best comes out. And
Absolutely.
what's very obvious. That's
Yep.
to me, one of the benefits of this.
Yep.
And I want to give you and everyone else kudos for that.
Yeah. Sarah was there the whole time. She and I were trying to do push out updates a couple times a day. And some of it was kind of mimicking what the Emergency Operations Center was kind of saying as well. So we're kind of duplicating, but we really thought that, continual input and feedback was important. So we tried to, there was a time where we didn't have phones here at City Hall. Our phones got knocked out. So I put my cell phone out there as the point of contact, and it actually came in handy because folks would call me and would pause and I expected to have a recording and not have a actual person answer the phone. So they were very appreciative of actual a human voice answering the phone and giving really direct input and updates for them. Many of them were were out of town checking on an elderly parent or loved one. And so we would have public safety stop by the house and check on them, you know, when they could do that. And so it was good that we were they were at least able to have a number that they could call because our phones were down, so they could talk to somebody and get that update.
Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, thank you, Shane, for the update. It was an incredible human community experience. Can you explain to me, the reason that City Hall was able to host people was because you had a generator here that was able to provide at least like the heat or the lights on in a limited capacity within a certain area. And having that generator is also a sign of like resiliency and that you were able with anticipation to know that that would be, City Hall could be open because you had a backup generator?
Yeah, that's, we have a natural gas generator that runs really our entire facility. So as luck may have it, we had it serviced the prior week. And when I say service, we had once a year, we have a load bank test that we put it under the max load that the generator can handle. Because typically we run it every Wednesday because it kicks on every Wednesday, but it's not under a load. It's just running just to keep everything lubricated. But so the annual test actually strains it. It puts it under a load. So then the following week we had the ice event and it ran nonstop for, what was that, 5 days? So fortunately it was mechanically in very good shape. And we've always taken care of that, our equipment, but to actually know that it was under a load and it could handle it for a length of time was important. And we're being told by our generator manufacturer, the person that services, that we probably should have it serviced because it was running for so long, and we'll obviously go through that process. But yeah, that's a great thought. We also assisted. We assisted the hospital. They ran into a situation where they have a diesel generator, and they had a tank of diesel fuel ready, but the valving mechanism between the two tanks either froze or malfunctioned, and so they were in danger of running out of diesel fuel. So we had public safety. We had others get with Blarney Castle and essentially wake their driver up in the middle of the night. And they had to deliver a load of diesel fuel to the hospital before they lost the power for a significant amount of time. So, and then we also, again, I want to give kudos to Jason and Rob. We actually went above and beyond on several different events, but for the assisted living facilities, I think we had times that we had to go to each one of them. And so, one, I know the Mallard Cove is not even our customer. They're a Great Lakes Energy customer, but they were down for so long that we actually rolled up a generator for them that would run their entire facility. So they were having to haul out their waste, had a contractor come in to haul out their waste because their generator wasn't sized appropriately. So we actually brought a generator to them. And fortunately or unfortunately, it only had to run for like 4 hours and then the power came back on for them. But you don't know that. You don't know when it's going to come back. So again, kudos to Jason and Rob for going above and beyond on those cases where, again, in Mallard Cove's case, they weren't even our customer.
Jerry.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Manager Horn. One question, one comment. First, the question, the arborist that's going and marking the street trees that will be lost, is that something that it would be accounted for in cost to the city?
Yes.
Is that the Parks and Rec?
Yes, that will be part of the cost reimbursement process. Yes.
Okay, great. And then, yeah, just also want to echo the sentiments. I've heard so many great comments and really appreciate the city's response. You know, giving out your cell phone and the warming welcoming center and just getting the chipping going right away. I've heard a lot of great positive feedback. The one comment I heard was on just kind of updates and hearing from you and I from the city, and I think you respond well that way too. I think people just in those moments are just what's going on, and so one potential option is a protocol of just knowing how often So people can expect, okay, I'm going to hear
Yeah.
something by a certain
Right,
time.
designated times, yeah.
But I thank you for your work and your staff's work
Yeah.
for Washington's community. Thank you.
Yeah, even, the mayor brought Sloppy Joe's over a couple different times. And so a lot of that was unexpected. When we opened the warming center, I'm like, we're not really set up to cook or provide meals, and we really didn't need to because people were bringing stuff in. Just, restaurants the food was in danger of going to waste. They dropped stuff off to us. It was just very heartwarming to see the outpouring of support that we saw and felt in our community.
I think it's also kind of interesting. It wasn't a matter of Democrat, Republican, left, right. There was no political thing that I ever heard. All I heard was helping neighbors, and I did not see anybody pass up a house for some reason or other. Do you know what I mean? So I thought that this is a good time for the community to come together.
Yeah.
Ms. Walker.
Thank you for mentioning. Derek, thank you for mentioning that. Also, it's like the flow of communication. I think people initially were like hot and heavy for information they wanted to know. There was like so much uncertainty. And couple of times I had to just remind residents, like, the city's doing a really good job of making sure that the information they are releasing is accurate. And so sometimes I notice other cities were like issuing information maybe a little too prematurely in anticipation of like their residents' like
Right.
nervousness. But the last thing you want to have to do is retract information and create confusion. So I really, really appreciated the pace at which the city of Petoskey released the information. It was timely and it was accurate. And you didn't have to do any retraction. So I definitely appreciated that and being able to communicate with people accordingly.
Okay.
Page 2.
Yep. Couple other highlights. We did reschedule the planning commission meeting, so we actually have planning commission this week, Wednesday. So we'll have a public hearing for special condition use. This is for a new child care center at 403 Madison Street, a former church there that is looking to be redeveloped into a much-needed childcare facility. And then they'll continue discussion. The planning commission will just continue discussion on a below grade residential and commercial use in the B2 Central Business District as well. Also wanted to remind you, the Winter Sports Park Community Survey is still out and available. Just to give you some additional background, we released the survey on March 21st. Sarah has posted the survey on our website, our social media. We have poster boards with QR codes in the lobby of City Hall and the library with hard copies of the survey available. We have noticed that put the QR code in our April utility bills and put a brief notice on our utility bills that went out in April. The Petoskey Area Chamber of Commerce newsletter has been gracious to add this in their weekly newsletter release as well. This will close on April 30th at 5 o'clock. The latest number that I have, even though that's changed because we just received some from the library today, some hard copies, but I'm going to say 310 responses have been received so far. So folks have another week or so to get your input in, and we certainly value that and appreciate the time that folks spend on that. Another reminder, this has been a question that we've had. We will keep our rubbish collection schedule. We have locked in our provider for these dates, so we really can't change the May dates. So we will keep the May 13th and the 20th for the west of Howard Street, and May 14th and 21st for east of Howard Street. We obviously will have still some brush work to clean up. We're hoping to be in better shape by those two dates, or by the May dates, but we will be continuing to use the dates that are published as we stand here today. That is the plan. We've locked that in with our provider, and we really can't change it at this point without causing significant delays to the schedule. So again, small yard waste, Thursdays, through the end of May. And then brush chipping will be going all summer long, obviously on our normal schedule, on Mondays. This is the first and third Mondays. And again, we expect that to be pretty heavy, for the foreseeable future anyway. And again, some further updates, spring construction projects are underway. I'm sure you've all seen some of that and maybe ran into some of that. We did push some of these projects back a week or so based on the ice storm. So Howard Street from State to Grove got started on April 7th. That'll continue through late May, and then we'll pick it up from late May to the end of August through the rest of the from Grove to Sheridan, essentially, from that standpoint. We're at the, Jason says this is the worst spot of the project, so we've decided to take on the worst first. So we're at State, Howard and State now, and so we'll move forward from there. Seville Lot has started as well. That started on the week of April 14th. We'll end that the end of May. Same with Pennsylvania Park. That project is Park Avenue. Started the week of April 7th. Will go until the end of May as well. And then the Bayfront East Wheelway, we did pour our first bit of concrete last week. So we're in really good shape with that project as well. It'd be a little better if we could have a little nicer weather than today, but that is also, the expectation is that project will be done by the end of May. So we have a lot of contractors busy, but we'll hopefully be slowing down after we get into the first part of June. Another reminder, we put this out on social media as well. Councilmember Demore asked if we would kind of send this out again. So the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council, as you all know, as folks graduate, that means opportunities for new folks to cycle in. So we're, Councilmember Demore and the city is seeking applicants for the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council, and those applications will be accepted up until the May 5th application deadline. I don't know, Councilmember Demore, did you want to hit on anything on that?
I'll just save it till the video, but thank
Okay,
you.
yep. That's all I have. Thank you.
So any questions for the city manager, Mr. Shields?
Thanks, Manager Horn. The Pennsylvania Park improvements, the project, does that require any street closure going on from here on?
Yes, the street is closed on Lake from Howard to the park, I guess you would say.
Yes.
And that'll be for the duration of the project. Yep. All businesses are open, obviously, in that section. We've added signage to that effect. All business owners have been notified of this. Again, we're hoping to get in and out of there fairly quickly. They're making very good progress, doing their storm and sanitary separations in the street now. So we're in pretty good shape with that project. So pending no delays, we'll be out of there, toward the end of May.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you, council. Next we'll move, thank you, Mayor Horn, for the updates. Next is new business, the adoption of proposed resolution that would designate locations for the 2025 ward and city conventions.
Ready?
Sarah?
Yes. So per city charter provisions, we have to do ward and city conventions. Per charter, the time is set for 8 PM, but you guys have to set this date and locations. As you recall, the 2025 ward and city conventions dates were set at our November 7th meeting for ward conventions, June 16th at 8 PM. And then the city convention on Wednesday, June 18th at 8 PM. So we are looking for your approval, discussion, ideas on locations for ward conventions. And as we've done in years past, I did list them.
There's a request for Ward 1 to come to City Hall here in the council chambers. And then the rest, typically we do them in the locations of your ward, which generally are in the schools. So if now is your time to let us know if you want a different location. I do have the schools opening at 6:30 PM, so if you want to get in there sooner, I need to know now, so I can set that up, and then also any different setup. So typically I set up about 20 to 25 chairs. Obviously, there's a bunch usually left over, and about a table or two just for the chair and the secretary to record. So that is what we're asking. If you guys like these locations or you want to explore different locations.
Ms. Walker,
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Sarah, for organizing this and reminding us that we set the dates and the locations back in November. So I am very much in favor of keeping it at Sheridan Elementary School. It just seems to be kind of like the standard fare. It's pretty walkable for most people in Ward 4, and I like the public space. I do like to get in there around 6 o'clock, so if I can get in a little bit early, that would be helpful. And then I just reconfigure the chairs and the tables and make it circular instead of linear.
it is at 8 o'clock.
It is at 8 o'clock. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
What, 2
I'm sorry.
hours ahead?
No, no, that's right. 6:30 PM is fine. I was thinking it was 7. I apologize. So yes, 6:30 PM is a fine time to come in.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to speak?
I assume Ward 3 has always been at Lincoln.
Yes, it has been.
Hmm.
And I will gladly
And-
come in and
Yeah, I was gonna mention that because you will be out of town. You noted that a while ago. So if you wanted to, right, appoint or the mayor at least to open it, and they always select a chair and a clerk to do that.
And I'll give the summary as everybody does it during the ward. Then we'll send you a summary of what happened that year in the city's activities.
Yeah.
Usually what you do is you don't maybe take all 2-3 pages and read it verbatim, possibly pass it out, but a lot of times just like Derek or you guys, I know you highlight a few of those more important ones. And then you ask for any questions.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Are you up for running though?
That works.
Yeah, so at the ward convention, that's where someone will nominate you or anyone else. There's two options unless someone were to, circulate a petition, but that is where
I will
it would
announce
be
my,
nominated.
my running.
And then let me know.
Okay,
And if you don't, then let me know if you're not, so
Okay.
that way
okay.
we will research. Mr. Moore,
My only question was, can a person be nominated in absentia?
Yes.
They can.
Yep.
Thank you.
but if it's more than one, if it's 3, then they would have a chance for a few minutes of its discussion and then a vote to cut it down to 2, so.
Yeah, that's where the little ballots are in your materials. I know some people use them, some don't, but I don't think we've had 3 in
a long time.
a
Okay.
very long time. But that's what those are meant for, to
Okay.
kind of cast a ballot, if you will.
Do I have a motion to accept the locations, time, et cetera? Ms. Walker?
I'd be happy, Mayor, to make a motion to adopt the enclosed proposed resolution that would set locations for the 2025 ward and city conventions.
Support.
I have a motion from Ms. Walker and I have a second from Mr. Moore. Other discussions? I go to Ms. Beck-Fullo.
And just to clarify, Lindsay, you want to get in at 6:30?
No, it's fine. 7 o'clock is, or 6:30 is the fine. Is that the time that you've already set? I'm fine with that.
I might have misspoke.
Okay.
Because right, the meetings start at 8.
Eight.
I think we usually have in 7:30. So you want it at 7? an
Yeah, yes,
hour
please. If
earlier?
I could have the doors open to Sheridan Elementary School at 7.
At
PM.
7.
Thank you so
Yeah, I
much.
misspoke because
you.
I was an hour off. Okay. Thank you. So roll call. Walker,
Aye.
Demore,
Aye.
Shields.
Yes.
Nachtrab,
Aye.
Murphy.
Yes. Motion passes 5-0. Next, discussion on private dangerous tree removal assistance. I go over, turn it over to City Manager Horn.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to Councilmember Shields. Councilmember Shields and I had a few conversations, last week. We all have seen the devastation of the ice storm, and it wasn't just street trees. It wasn't just trees in our public spaces, and our parks. It was private trees. I think we've all seen firsthand and have worked on our own houses and yards and have felt that impact. So, Councilmember Shields, was seeking to discuss a, private landowner tree removal assistance program. These would be trees that were in jeopardy of falling onto a house or garage due to damage from the ice storm. So, I don't know, Councilmember Shields, do you want to kind of take that on and?
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Manager Horn. The background, this precipitated, this likely you guys have had constituents reach out and ask if there's any funding for tree work and tree removal on their own private property. So I had a couple of residents ask me that, and I said I'd get back with them. I reached out to Senator Moose, and then I saw some of his Facebook posts where he was trying to find information about that. And then I came across the Pawtuska Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation funding, and through my own work, the nonprofit, I saw that it was only open to nonprofits and wasn't available to the community residences. But talked with Shane and asked, was this something the city could be the recipient from the community foundation funds to disperse to our residents who are in need? And thinking particularly about those of our residents who are in a really tricky spot of a dangerous tree as a result of the ice storm, and then what in their expenses, their daily expenses, yearly expenses, they'd have to sacrifice to make that tree removal happen. And then, we wouldn't want, ideally, we wouldn't want someone leaving a potentially dangerous tree because they don't have the funding for that. So that's the background. I understand that this is, I don't know if there's precedent for this, and so there, there could be some questions, but I threw together a quick kind of here's a potential for how it could work, and then thank you, Manager Horn, for putting this together. I just wanted to have that discussion with this table. So I guess if I'm leading the discussion, what's some initial thoughts on this? There's different blanks here, which I had originally suggested a few numbers. I think the Community Foundation, their cap for nonprofits was at 5,000, but conversations with Community Foundation, they're not, they're removing that cap, so it could be higher. Could be, I would just throw out there, see here, a $20,000 ask with a $10,000 match for a total of $30,000 that could be made available to city residents.
Ms. Walker.
Thanks, Mayor. I'm definitely in favor of that, especially if the Community Foundation is giving the grants for, I think one of them is like community resiliency and planning. And so I think that would definitely qualify. And because it is the Pawtuska Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation and the city has applied for grants, government has before, to that foundation, I would think that would be a good opportunity. I wonder how many residents there are that would be kind of in this situation, like whose storm debris or trees are in threat. Did we experience any residential damage due to trees falling on homes or secondary structures? Was there reported a significant?
Yeah,
amount of that?
I'm sure folks suffered damage to their structures because of falling limbs and debris. Yeah, I know that's the fact. In my conversations with Councilmember Shields, I just mentioned, typically there's a pretty clear delineation between public and private, and it's because, for a lot of reasons, and typically we don't merge into the private lane, because of that, using public dollars, you know, in private, issues. But this is a significant event, and I think, you know, whenever you have an event like this, you need to kind of peel back the issues and keep an open mind on what you could potentially consider. I did talk to Sarah Ford with the Community Foundation. I played it out as well. This is something that we're gonna have a discussion on. She said that this certainly would meet, their mission of the grant. We would have to apply like any other nonprofit and be considered, but she thought with us, the city being the facilitator and the distributor, she's thought that would, qualify and meet the mission and the goal of the grant, from that standpoint. The challenge, I guess, becomes some of the details on, you know, the bandwidth of City Hall to be able to do this. We did talk about that as well. We would want to make sure that there's very clear guidelines and clear expectations. And just like the Chill Grant program, I trust people 100% for the most part. That's just my personality, but we need to verify, if that's a requirement of council, that these folks that are applying for funds need to meet certain thresholds, then we can't just accept a box that's checked. We have to accept documents and follow through and make sure that things are, adhered to from a income qualification standpoint. So there is significant effort on staff's part to be able to provide this. But if that's the desire of city council, we will certainly rise to the occasion for sure.
Question. Private landowners, so rental, people that own a building and they have rentals in it, they qualify for this? Because they're private landowners.
I would say, good question, Mayor. I think if they meet the income qualifications,
But
which
who meets the income?
People-
Landlord.
the
Tenant or
landowner,
the landowner?
landowner, right? Yeah. So,
You have a question, Mr. Mayor?
So I love the heart of this idea, but I have a number of concerns. And that's not to say I won't do this, but I'm going to talk about my concerns. You know, we talked tonight about looking at $2.5 million in potential damages or more citywide that have to be addressed. And I think in our role as city council, that's our top priority. I don't know right now how that gets addressed. For my part, I've not heard from anybody, as you have, Councilperson Shields, with this need. I've not had that outreach or request at this point. My next concern that I've written down here that city manager has spoken to is the bandwidth of the city to take on something more when we're still in the process of trying to clean up from the storm and all that entails. I initially, like you, checked to see and understood it was a $5,000 limit, and I do understand now that it's a greater amount that's being considered. But when I looked here at the criteria, I agree with City Manager Horn. If you're going to have criteria like you have to have a licensed and insured professional, really need to have a bid copy to document that. If you've been rejected by insurance, it's not enough to check a box. You really need written evidence of the rejection. And I think even if we didn't require that, I would expect that there would be expectations like that from the grant provider, the Community Foundation. I'm not speaking for them. I would just think that would be so. The initial criteria they're set under number one, I guess 1, 2, and 3 are different criteria. But criteria 1 really wouldn't be fair because, you know, you could say that's for one person or for a family of 6. So you'd really need to look at something more like criteria 3, where you're delineating between people and their income based on how many people are in the family. So those are all concerns that I would just share with the balance of the panel here for consideration. Thank you.
Mr. Knobtrop.
I think it's really cool and the issue, I have some concerns as well. One, you know, in my own experience, we assess trees all the time. And there's a judgment that is how dangerous is dangerous. And you know, you can really get carried away with that. So I'd be really, really worried or concerned that let's make sure it's really dangerous. And which to me, if it falls anyway, it's probably covered by insurance after it falls. It's getting the cut, you know, which makes no sense to me. Preventative, they should cover it if it's in danger, but it doesn't the way the insurance works.
Right.
And most policies, in my own policy, we had damage and we were limited to basically $1,500 worth of tree damage, and that's nothing. So I'm feeling kind of bad about all this. My other question is, would HOAs, the mayor talked about renters and landlords, but there's a whole bunch of HOAs out there with moderate income people that I know in my ward and others that, you know, this is going to be really costly to the HOAs. And they don't have the money, and the HOAs are funded by the people writing bigger checks. So it's a heck of it would be really cool is if you could modify if we were going to do this, that you could modify this so that the occupants that are actually paying for this, it can work for them. And I wish there was a way to do it a lot more than this for people, but.
Mr. Shields.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, thanks, Councilwoman DeMore and Councilwoman Knobtrab. This is the kind of feedback I was looking for. I had reservations as well as this. You know, it is also a question of, is this something to pilot and just try at a small scale? In thinking about the workload for City Hall, and that's why I first asked Shane about this. First went to him, see if there's something even possible. And I appreciate, you know, Shane's willingness to say, we'll try to make it happen. But I think I want to try to make if we do this, to make this as straightforward as Councilwoman Moore said, that there isn't the gray, and that it is a pilot, first come, first serve, where we're really able to help some people. You know, I'd be interested in some thoughts about how to think about the occupants and the renters, the HOAs versus landowners. I think we need more time to flesh that out.
I think the idea, your heart is big.
Well,
No, it is.
I don't.
You hear the need of your constituents. And like Mr. Knobtrab said, how do we go and say, this is dangerous, this isn't? And who wants this just to be cleaned up because
It's time.
it's time to clean it up out of their yard? You know, it's a lot of balancing and perhaps rethinking how that could be balanced out better. Insurance companies, Mr. Knobtrab, you're very fortunate if they will pay you $1,500 for your yard. Many accounts, insurances will state, if it didn't do your car or house damage, it's not our problem. Okay, so I know that's one situation. People have had, I know you have a neighbor between you and I, Shane, who had something go through the roof. There were 3 houses in a row that had some roof damage. Somebody went up and they patched up the roof. Yeah, it's a tough situation. I see the community pulling together though. You know, I see the community pulling together. It's amazing. I'm sure all of you have done what I've done, and that's you volunteer to go out and help cut wood and stack wood, and, you know, spent the part of the weekend doing that. But I think maybe revisiting this and coming back with some tightening of it. Ms. Walker.
There might be a third option and that we might be able to get somebody like the Northern Michigan Community Action Agency who's already applying for the Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation emergency funds grant for different applications. Maybe they could go in with the city together and they could be the ones to go through the applications, determine eligibility and work in partnership with the city. Because they already have those grant applications coming through Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation. So that might be another, just like we did subcontracting with Habitat for Humanity on grant administration and qualifications and application renewal. So maybe that could be a third option, considering bandwidth and our ability to facilitate the grant application itself is like a pretty common Petoskey Harbor Springs Area Community Foundation grant. And if there's no need for I don't remember seeing anything about match dollars in there, but now that the cap has been lifted, I think that might be a better option, is if we could partner with NMCAA on that. That's one idea.
Mr. Moore.
I think too, looking at a criteria other than dangerous trees, as Mr. Nachtrub suggests, that's kind of amorphous and could be challenging. I'd also like to know, with a more specific definition, like a tree on your house, for example, how many people have that need in the city? I just don't have a sense of that right now. I think we all have trees down and limbs and things in our yard, but the kind of need, I thought you were trying to get at here. I guess I don't have clarity on that. The other thing I thought about, having had a tree fall on my house, not lately, but where I live, it's extremely expensive, like $2,000 to $2,500 in those instances. And I'm hearing through the community that there's hourly rates of like $140 an hour, that sort of thing. And so it just concerns me a little bit, having a finite pool of money with a first come, first serve, where, maybe somebody who's elderly or has more challenges might not come to the front of the line and miss the cutoff. I just have a lot of kind of concerns around this. And again, the heart of it, I completely support.
Mr. Shields.
Thanks, Mayor. So appreciate the comments about the heart. I just, think that heart without taking action is kind of worthless. So I appreciate that. And, if we go through a due diligence and say this is not right, that is, we're not going to push you through something just because of the heart. So I understand that. Well, I just, what I want to say or throw out there is, I think we can try to define dangerous if we're going to go through this. That's fine, but the nature of something that's dangerous is an unsettling. So that when we talk about well-being, someone, whether they're elderly or not, but they meet these income restrictions. So I'll use my example, since I don't meet these income restrictions, and I would not apply for this, but there is a tree that's massively large over our garage, by our garage. Is it leaning over our garage? No. Is it leaning towards the neighbor's house a little bit? It's leaning towards the house, but it's a massive tree. If it goes down while we're sleeping, it could crush somebody, myself or a neighbor. So that living with that it impacts someone's sense of well-being. So that I think is subjective and can be subjective. And so could someone take advantage of the city in this potentially? But if it's a pilot, if it's a test, if it's something in response to an emergency, unprecedented situation that was the ice storm, that is kind of what we're talking about here. And could we be looked at as naive, and we gave the community something that we're taking advantage of? Potentially. I'm willing to take that on here in this instance. That's my response to that concern, notwithstanding the need to tighten this up.
Mr. Nachtrub.
Just for what it's worth, Derek, I tend to agree with that. I don't think it's as much property damage, because if it does fall over, it's going to be covered by insurance, the repair of it. It is the issue of a tree is now still up, the ice is gone, but the tree is up and it's kind of leaning, and the next, any kind of wind, anything can come along and could hurt somebody. To me, that's the driving force of this. It's not so much, in my own opinion, property damage, because the insurance has got it. It's really to prevent, I had a tree fall through our roof once a long time ago. And my little 5-year-old and 2-year-old sons were right at the table, and it went right, it didn't hit them. But I'll be darned if it didn't come through the roof and into our dining room and scare the living daylights out of them, and me too. So that's worth pursuing.
Mr. Shields.
Thanks, Mayor. I'd volunteer just to keep this conversation going with Manager Horn.
Okay.
And welcome other comments individually from council members and the public also. And I'd be happy to kind of be the person to receive those comments and shepherd this forward and then bring it back to this group, to the council if there's momentum behind it.
Okay, sounds good. Good job. Thank you, Derek, for your efforts, really. Next is a viewing of the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council informational video. I turn it over to Mr. Moore.
So this is just a brief follow-up with the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council update, which I'm to provide to you for our policy. And as city manager said, the application outreach is currently underway. And really, students that are members of the Youth Advisory Council are taking the lead on this. And so I did want to share with you and with anybody who might be listening or who might watch this recording, a informational video, very short, made by PIAC member and PHS senior Luke Washington in support of the application outreach process. And that process is outreaching at Petoskey High School, St. Michael's High School, Concord Academy, and the Homeschool Network. So I'll let you take a look at that and then just a couple other updates. Sorry to give you a special challenge with the use of the new equipment, Ms. Beck. So kudos to Luke. He's only a part of the outreach efforts. Councilmember Walker was at a meeting last week of the Native American parents, and Ari Maldonado made a presentation there. So there's a lot of outreach going on. So as a further update, 8 of the PIAC members attended the Michigan Municipal League Capital Conference, as Luke just advised. All of them gave a huge thumbs up to the experience and really want to continue attending moving forward. Along those lines, I want to extend our thanks to the Hestia Women's Giving Circle. Through their grant support, 6 of the 8 attendees, the women, everything at CapCon was paid for through that grant. So efforts are currently underway to apply for continuing grant support for that opportunity going forward. I know that City Manager Horn shared with you an MML interview of our Youth Advisory Council CapCon attendees, which was released statewide by the Michigan Municipal League. Petoskey students were the only youth in attendance at CapCon. Having said that, I would not have been able to do it without my partner in crime sitting next to me, Mr. Shields, who chaperoned along with me. And then just looking ahead, I wanted to let you all know that on May 19th, the members of the Petoskey Youth Advisory Council will be here in person to give you an overview of what the year has been like and what they're looking forward to going forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Demore, for leading the charge on that. I think it gives students a great opportunity they otherwise would not have had without your efforts, so thank you. And Derek, thank you for chaperoning and very good, both of you. Ms. Walker.
Thank you, Mayor. Tina, can you tell me how many positions are open right now? And is it just the seniors that are graduating that are relinquishing their positions, and then the rest will continue to run through their term?
So we're able, under the policy, to have up to 15 members. We currently have 12. 5 of those are seniors, but the remaining members are also required to reapply.
Okay.
And there's a reapplication that they have to submit to talk about attendance and contributions and all that sort of thing. So it really is in flux how many positions will be open. So we encourage anybody interested to apply. Thank you.
Okay, now we have city council comments, and I'll start with Mr. Knobtrop, Ward 3. Oh, you weren't prepared.
I was prepared.
Okay.
I do have a request to the council and or the city. I'm not sure who this applies to. When I'm the new guy on the block, and I was reading the council's top priorities report that Shane gave me. And in the sustainability section, there was a very significant statement that stuck out like a sore thumb to me about how much of a priority DEI is to this council. And I'm fairly pragmatic about this. Today, it's obviously a lightning rod discussion that tends to fall upon ideology. And my concern is, does the city really need to have that specifically so adamantly in there? And if it does, I think we could run a risk unbeknownst to us, given the current administration at the federal level. And I don't know where all that would come in, but I would like to at least ask you all to reconsider how important that statement, just the DEI, the way it was written, to me, it was very much a ideology statement, not so much a true and accurate what you really want. And if the city does, or if the council says that this is a very high priority, I think the council should define this a lot more to try to avoid stupid controversy that's unnecessary. And lastly, how does that really impact, how does that priority that you guys have established, the council has established, is impacting day-to-day operations in the city of Petoskey? And again, I don't want to get in, I think, what I like about this council is we try really hard to avoid political statements. And I'm strong about that myself. But do we really need to step in this fight now? And if not, we ought to be prepared to better define it so it isn't so controversial. That's it.
Mr. Shields, Ward 2.
Thanks, Mayor. Can I ask clarification where you were seeing that statement? Is that the livable, the master plan?
It was a report, I didn't bring it, but it was a report that Shane gave me that described, that the council apparently adopted. It was all kinds of subjects that the council said was high priorities.
Yeah. The action plan,
Yeah,
it's like,
okay,
Yes.
so you can put it in like a table, I
yeah.
think.
And it was under the system, my question was in the sustainability section of that.
Right.
Thank you. So my update, first off, thanks, I want to thank Mr. Moore for leading YAC. And truly that having the students there at CapCon was fun to watch. It was fun to watch. They're engaged and, people wanted to talk to the students. So not only was it awesome for our students here, but it was a model for other communities to replicate, and it sounds like other communities are going to try to do something similar, so thank you. I just want to, in light of, I understand there was some community concern about trees being taken down and misunderstandings, and just in that, it made me think of the value of the Citizen Tree Council that,
Which trees are we talking about?
any trees, but in particular, the ones that were in Pennsylvania Park. I think some misunderstanding there. Just suggesting that we talk about the value of having a Citizen Tree Council for helping the city in the communication of the value of trees, or when there is miscommunication, this body could help. You could direct, go talk to the tree council for clarity of what's going on, because there's their bodies to be engaged and up to date of what's happening with trees. Similarly with a lot of trees maybe need to take down for the ice storm right now. A council board could be that mitigating relationship feature to the public to talk about, okay, the value of trees and also the need to take them down when they are damaged. So I would encourage and ask that our Parks and Rec board could have another discussion, or if not at city council level, about a Citizen Tree Advisory Council that I know Ward 2 resident Nancy Dwan submitted a while back. So I just think it was a good time to, again, voice my support for that in light of trees being a central focus right now.
Ward 1, Mr. Moore.
So I already gave my update on the Youth Advisory Council, but I guess as a follow-up to that, what I'd like to say to the community at large, following up on that particular situation, but overall, I want to encourage people, if you have a concern or an upset or a constructive criticism for me personally, and I'm going to guess for my colleagues, but I won't speak for you, I'd really appreciate if you picked up the phone and gave me a call. I'm always happy to talk to anyone who sees something, concerned about something, thinks differently than something I've expressed, to have a good, respectful, constructive dialogue. And it really is helpful. And I hope that here at this table, we're all modeling that for the community and the young people as well. And so I just want to encourage everybody that I stand available to receive those calls, particularly if you don't agree with me, but at all times. Thank you.
Ward 4, Ms. Walker.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, these past 3 weeks since the storm hit our area and kind of started knocking out power systematically back on March the 31st, leading up to that, the days before were some of the outliers in our community were experiencing power outages. I thought, our city is golden. We are 78% underground. And then Wednesday rolled around and I was like, how did this happen? Well, we're connected to larger grid systems and larger transmissions. And so I thought about George Core Tower over the course of those storms. I thought about Mike Robbins extensively because I know both of those men, just like Shane and just like Jason Fate, were out on the scene, really being responsive to what was happening in our community in live time. So that legacy of forethought and preparing ourselves as a community for how we were gonna handle emergency storm debris in an emergency storm situation. Emergency planning is something that obviously Emmett County and our surrounding counties in this state have been positioning themselves with as climate-induced further storms, irregular weather patterns are influencing our entire state and region. So I am so proud of the fact that we are resilient in the planning of having those utilities underground, and our relationship with the Michigan Public Power Association, being able to leverage our colleagues through MPPA, coming from Zealand and Traverse City, and the way that like Charlevoix got online first, and then they came over to help Petoskey, and then Petoskey and Charlevoix went over to help Harbor Springs. We're all partners in MPPA. So that kind of work and solidarity and, resiliency in our planning mechanism, and knowing what those federal costs are those costs are gonna be, and aligning ourselves and making sure that we are documenting what the overtime was, what the debris costs were. The city of Petoskey and the city of Harbor Springs were already in a really good position of providing tree chipping services at the curb. The rest of the county has no plan for that. So now they're in a position to try to establish those 8 remote drop sites. But the city of Petoskey is really doing like the best job throughout the county. And I'm so proud of our city's way of providing that as a service to our residents, as like a nice thing to do for the taxes that people pay for living in the city of Petoskey. So the yard waste cleanup, the brush cleanup on a seasonal basis, the spring cleanup that's about to happen for people that lost their sump pumps, their electric sump pumps in their home, pumping out water. There was a lot of damage to people's basements, so there's gonna be large disposal costs. So I feel like we're in such a good position of resiliency. And if the federal funds don't come down the pike and the state funds don't come down the pike, what does that leave us with in terms of a city government and county government? And what does resiliency look like in the face of maybe, I'm very hopeful still that those funds will flow through our communities and cover some of these exorbitant costs. But yeah, I'm very proud of what we were able to accomplish and the service and the community outreach that happened. So tomorrow's Earth Day. I look forward to celebrating Earth Day with my colleagues. And of course, we also are offering a public tour of our recycling facility from 11 until 12:30 tomorrow. And I look forward to the next things to come here in the city of Petoskey. International Compost Awareness Week will be the second week of May. And so hopefully we'll be introducing another resolution here for the next meeting. And yeah, I'm very proud of the community where I live. Thank you.
I received from the Women's Resource Center a proclamation on Sexual Assault Awareness Month, which is April this month, and I felt this was in an envelope that I received for the last meeting. I did not get it in time to put it into this packet.
Oh, it came
So-
today.
Huh?
It came today. Was that in that big envelope? Yeah, it came in the mail
I
today.
feel what I should do is, it's very important. So I'm going to read this proclamation, if you will bear with me. Sexual Assault Awareness Month, April 2025, whereas Sexual Assault Month is recognized nationally each April to raise awareness of the prevalence and impact of sexual violence. And whereas sexual violence remains prevalent in 1 in 4 women and 1 in 26 men having experienced complete or attempted rape in this country. And whereas communities across our nation, including our rural area, play a crucial role in fostering environments that are safe, supportive, and connected. And whereas the strength of our community lies in the bonds we share. And by creating strong connections, we can work collaboratively to reduce the likelihood of sexual assault and violence. Whereas the residents of our community deserve to live in an environment that values empathy, understanding, and support for survivors of sexual assault. And whereas recognize the importance of addressing sexual assault and creating a safer community requires a collective efforts from individuals, organizations, and local leaderships. And therefore, I, John Murphy, Mayor of the City of Petoskey, do proclaim April 2025 as Sexual Assault Awareness Month in our community. I urge community members, organizations, and businesses to join in raising awareness, cultivating strong community connections, and working towards the prevention of sexual violence. Together, we can create a community where everyone feels safe, respected, and supported. This dated the 21st of April, 2025. My comments are this: Derek, you opened up the can of worms on the, you opened up the log, the cord of wood, I guess. I personally am happy that we don't have a citizens committee overseeing trees, because we were able to move forward on this emergency without having to come to another layer of government to discuss when we have our city planner, who on Saturday and throughout the week joined with a arborist to go through and check the parks. Just like the park that you're talking about, Pennsylvania Park, I made the mistake of responding, and all of you got caught into an email from an individual upset about my response on Facebook, which I made a mistake. I realized Facebook is throw anything you want on the wall, and it doesn't matter who you hurt, it doesn't matter who you attack. It's all legal to be that kind of a person. I made 2-3 comments about the great job they're doing on the park, that those trees were damaged. I went down twice to look at them, that before they were taken down. They were removed for the safety of all. And when people start false rumors about us cutting down trees just because we want to get rid of trees in Pennsylvania Park, I had to take and support our staff, our arborist, our Parks and Rec director, and our city manager on this. And I feel it's really important, because we do have such a great system, to work within the system we have right now. And so that's, I guess, all I want to say on that one. I do agree with you. One thing I will tell you that I changed my mind on is, if deer are a problem in this community and we need to call them somehow, I think we should take a look at doing that. However, on the tree committees, I think right now we're doing a great job with what we have in our system that's working well. So there being no further business become for this council, I call this meeting adjourned. And you don't have to take the batteries out,
No.
and you don't have to pass them